Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Skritt. I'm your host John, better known as Dale around Yakspin, with a fantastic show for you. While one farm closes, another opens, but this one is on purpose. News about new Living World episode and legendary armor. Changes to league rating, leaderboards, and much more. But first, let me introduce you to my fellow hosts. He is a moderator over at MMO Champion. If you haven't seen him play PvP on Wednesdays right here on Twitch by now, then that is just criminal. Go see if he has what it takes to walk the talk. Say hello to Jim.
Hi, everybody. I really have to click on these links. I forget to do that. He puts the links to these movies in the show notes every week, and I don't look at them. I feel bad.
I feel obligated now that, like I said before, my IMDb, like if I just type IMDb, it instantly gives me Chris Pratt and Ryan Reynolds. So, it's very handy. And he writes over on his blog, agegaming.wordpress.com, where he answers the age-old question, what if ArenaNet is purposely releasing episode 4 in February? 4th episode, 2nd month, 42? Is this where all the questions get answered? Say hello to Age.
Next, I don't know. Next,
Did anybody think Deo would, with that side thing, was just going to pull in like a prop? You guys didn't see it, but
No.
Deo just did one of these things, and I thought he was just going to...
I don't know what you're talking about. And you can see his stuff over on Twitch and YouTube at MMO Inks. He has been on pretty much every Guild Wars 2 podcast under the sun. An individual that has influenced the background story of Guild Wars content. Say hello to Inks.
Poor Abaddon. He's misunderstood.
I know!
oh no, not
Finally!
Don't fuel the flames, please.
Now
Finally!
there's two of them.
Oh no.
But unfortunately, we're not talking about Abaddon. Well, I'm sure we will somehow, eventually, weave it in there somehow. But this past week, we've actually had some new news. Yay, some stuff straight from ArenaNet. Even my dogs are excited. But first, let's give you a reminder. Last week, we talked about the tournament of Groucharoo, which it will be played tomorrow, and they do actually have a poster out, and you can see it right there. Remember, like I said, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central European Time, which will be 10 a.m. Eastern or 7 a.m. Pacific for anybody in the States. And it is a community-driven PvP tournament. It is only EU. They do say you can, if you want to. If you only play NA, you can make an EU account. Anybody's welcome. Well, actually, not anybody's welcome. They're actually barring all the basically the tournament players from the actual ArenaNet tournament. So yeah, the people that are top rank. So if you're thinking, well, I'm never gonna win, your shot just got better.
Oh, actual pro players are banned. I like that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Also, I think they're full, but sign up anyways in case someone no-shows. That way you can fill that slot. So.
Yeah, wouldn't that be even a more monumental story? They just came out. They were just there. They got thrown at the last second. They won the championship. You might be on ESPN. I'm just saying.
That's a bit of a
Look,
stretch.
if that happens again, I kind of just want it to happen for the tiers when that we heard after Dota 2 got played on ESPN the one time.
Mm.
And honestly, every time I say Tournament of Groucharoo, does anybody else say it in the Olmec voice? If you remember Legends of the Hidden Temple.
I do remember Legends of the Hidden Temple.
I'm
Just
never
think-
going to be able to unhear that now.
Yeah, I just think Tournament of Groucharoo. So, anyway, as I was gathering all this, all the graphics and stuff, I just thought of that, and I was like, once again, like you said, now that's all I hear. So I give you that curse.
Stuck now.
But yeah, definitely check that out tomorrow. I don't know how long it's gonna run. I mean, it said there's 1 to 8 matches or whatever. Like there's gonna be a lot of matches, even though the first couple brackets is single elimination. But
yeah, so it's a round of 32. I think it's single elimination, and it's a round of 16 after that. I don't know if there'll be best of threes after that, but I think it'll be single elimination there, and I think top 8 will be best of 3.
okay, so what I'm just saying is, since it starts 10 a.m. Eastern, if you are watching this on YouTube, we usually put this up at noon. I'm pretty sure it'll still be going. You might have missed the first chunk of it, but definitely hop over there. We should have a link in the description, so you can head right to there and definitely show support. Maybe if there's popularity, they'll make an NA one. More people get into PvP. We talked about this last week. Nothing but positives from this, I think.
There's fewer prizes too, so if you watch. So.
Oh. And I guess that's not restricted NA or EU, so you should be.
Yeah. Win loots.
Yeah. So you see, if you can't even play because you have only an NA account, there you go. Watch it. You might get something that way. So
Fabulous prizes could be yours.
Indeed. But let us talk about all the stuff that happened this week. We actually got a post from Mike O'Brien, who, if you don't know, took over the game director position from Colin way back. He's basically standing in until they find someone to fill that role. But yeah, he talked about episode 4, which we're, I think, all eagerly waiting for. And he did give us the news that episode 4 is expected to launch in February. So, we don't know if that means beginning of February. I'd be surprised, but I would like it to be, since we talked about, I think last week, either on show or after show, that whole theory of possibility of, what was it, February 7th?
I think it will be early, actually, now that I think about it.
It might be it might release when the Lunar New Year is over.
Yeah. Or
It's
the week
logical
after.
place to put it. Yeah.
I think it's going to be early February.
I'm not going to complain.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as, it's ready. I mean, but another couple interesting things, because they didn't really tell us much about the story, which, I'm usually happy with, because you get to experience it all first time without any spoilers. But they did say there's going to be a couple fixes and changes coming with that patch. They're also talking about the release will also feature a fix to the AB multi-map looting, which I don't know if any of you out there have participated in or heard of it, but basically in Arc Basin, the meta event for Octavine, people would be, since we have the mega servers, you can basically create groups where people will just hop between all these things and get tons of loot in just one event. Technically multiple events, but it's the same event at the same time. So they're definitely addressing that. What do you guys think about that?
I've done it in the early times when it first started, just to see what it was like, and I'm like, it's not really worth it for me, because I'm not going to spend all the currency getting keys for extra loot, and I'm not around that much to actually loot, to do pre-meta stuff for the keys. So I'm like, I did it 3 times max, and I'm like, it's okay. But it's kind of fixing a bug, so, because it's honestly, you're not supposed to be able to do that anyway. I mean, so enjoy it while you can, I guess. That's
and they didn't say that they were going to, in the past when we've had these exploitations of, with Mystic Forge and stuff, the top, people that used it the most, a lot, they would, they're the ones that would be getting a temporary banner or something like that. So they didn't say anything like that this time, did they?
No, they said a while ago, or Mo had said a while ago that they knew about the problem. They were going to work on some sort of fix for it, and that while this is unintended, the way that players were running and jumping map instances for extra loot, it wasn't something that they were going to ban for. And he basically said, "Get your fill now, because when we go to change it and fix it, that's going to be it. It's going to be, over." So.
Oh, blame
You
Ace.
rat it out.
I did
Or
make a
like
video about multi-loot. It's funny, when I made that video, multi-loot wasn't really a new concept, but I don't think as many people were doing it, and so the ecto prices they had plummeted. They were still sitting at, I don't know, 35 silver or something. I say in the video what it was at, and I had done it for weeks at that point. I would do like 1 or 2 instances because it is time-consuming. It's not overly interesting. I mean, it's a farm, so I don't know how interesting a farm can be, but at that point I had been doing it, or I'd been watching it for probably 2 weeks, and the ecto prices weren't going anywhere. They were sitting pretty steady at 35 silver a piece or so. So it was profitable. You got lots of ectos. It didn't really seem like it was affecting the market. But as the months rolled on and more people jumped on the multi-loot wagon, the prices of ectos started to really, really take a dip down into like the low 20s, or mid 20s, wherever it was. So, clearly it was affecting things. It certainly wasn't intended on, ArenaNet's part, and it's good that it's getting changed. So, there you go.
I actually remember watching that video. I remember at the end you were like, "Yeah, if you don't follow the instructions of the person running the group, expect to get kicked."
Yeah.
Because you're going to screw up the instances, and okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's one of those things where it's like I don't think this was ever a consideration for the devs. So an effect like that on the economy is always something you have to worry about. So kind of have to take care of that, which is why I'm glad that they added the cloth and leather notes to the guild, why they added the magic destabilized salvage items from Bloodstone Fen, and I think you can get them from Ember Bay too, the ones that just salvage into random stuff.
Yeah.
That was fantastic that they started adding more. I mean, you're not technically farming an individual thing, but I mean, it makes it easier to get stuff that's probably more expensive on the trading post, like leather and cloth. I still think the patches were kind of a bullshit move for the crafting market, but that's not exactly along with AB multi-map farming, so I'm not going to jump down that rabbit hole right now.
It's interesting, and I had seen someone else mention that I haven't done multi-loot in months just because there's other things I do in the game, and I get really bored farming easily. But I did see somebody in one of my guilds or Discord or something was saying that people were selling VIP spots in these multi-loot groups for like 3 gold a person. So you pay the leader. It's amazing, right? Isn't that hilarious? You pay the leader 3 gold or whatever, however much it is they want, and then you won't get kicked from the group because the leader has X number of people that I guess they're also paying to stay in those maps, so the maps won't actually close.
So you can actually get a job in Guild Wars 2.
That's
You're the equivalent of that, like those people that get hired to stand in like line for like Black Friday for someone.
Exactly. Yeah. Stand in the iPhone line so that
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess
Wow.
that's in that case, I guess if it's kind of like a stand-in, you get paid. It's like sure, I guess that's okay, but that's weird. Man.
I'm along with Carnifex in chat. VIP lol. I mean, what the?
It's amazing,
was
right?
it advertised as VIP status? Was that how it was like advertised?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my god.
Please tell me people are going to occupy Arc Base and go, and they're taking our jobs.
Occupy AB. Somebody start that hashtag, seriously.
I think it's hilarious when players find some profitable farm or some profitable thing, and then they're like, you know what? I'm going to sell that because somebody will buy it. It's like the dungeon running or raid selling or whatever. they'll find a way to sell, the service of whatever in the game, and then charge people for it.
Well, there are the runes of holding that you buy to make bags. You can find them on the trading post for double the price that you buy from a merchant. Just because people hope that somebody is dumb to buy one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're worried about that farming spot going away, they did mention that they're going to put in a farm spot for leather, which I know a lot of people have been hoping for. And this gym was where you can talk about your issue with the patches and all that stuff. But it's interesting that they said there's going to be a new challenging group farm spot for leather, which I've seen people start speculating on it, like, oh, is it going to be in an instance, like, is it going to are they going to add it to like raids or something like that, or is it going to be like group in the sense of like on one of the meta or on the maps for a meta, or because I'm intrigued. I assume it's going to be something for one of the new, like maybe the new map or going back to one of the old maps for one of the big meta events. But I'm curious of how it's going to be challenging. Like, it just seems like the way the maps go is it might be challenging at first, but then everybody learns it. I mean, we saw that with Hot Release. Everybody's like, these maps are insane and crazy. No one will ever be able to do them. And then a month later, everybody's doing it. So,
well, people still have trouble killing the Vinetooth, the legendary Vinetooth in Auric Basin.
yeah.
Because people can't CC. I don't understand.
I know, right? I don't get it either, but like I still have instances where just people can't throw their, like I'll watch Rangers point blank shot for damage. Like, because you can see it. It's got like the two little swirly like charge up animations when you cast it, and I'll see it, and it's like, did you just use that for damage? And then the break bar pops up, and it's like...
Oh, boy. It's interesting, this quote from them. I think, more than likely, I think this farm will be in the new map, whatever the new map is, which in some sense is good, because that means that map will probably stay more viable for a longer period of time. Challenging open world-ish content, that's so hard to swallow, like... What open world activity is challenging? When you get an X number of people there, I mean, half of them disappear depending on your computer, but the boss becomes a light bulb, and eventually you get loot out of it. I don't know.
Especially now that they've attached challenging content to raids, and raids have really stepped that up in the idea of challenging. At least the learning curve is bigger than, I would say, an open world map, because I know now people are farming it fairly easy, but there's still massive amounts that either haven't tried it or still learning through it. But it's like anything, once you kind of learn the system and everybody gets in the groove, then it becomes easier. But I definitely think raids have a longer stretch than metamap, so yeah, I'm curious to see how long that lasts as a challenging group content, even if it is. I mean,
my only thought for that could be something that's just basically it spawns an enemy density that is comparable to having like lots of veterans and elites, but they're all champions.
Yeah, maybe.
Or it's one of those things where you have to kill them in a certain order. Think about the trio in the canopy for Verdant Brink.
Right.
Because the easiest way to kill them is to get 3 groups and pull them all apart, because that way they lose all of their special abilities. They become really easy to kill. So my only thought would be, you have NPCs that you have to kill in a certain order, or you have to pull them onto like some kind of damage spot or something. Something like Mytren, where you have to pull her through the electric field to remove her shield. Mechanics like that, and that's going to be the thing, is complex movement would definitely make open world content challenging.
Yeah.
Frustrating, because you have to wait for, you have to get the people who just want to press auto attack and walk away to do things, but maybe then they just end up dying because they're not
Ah.
following the mechanics.
I see. That's the challenge. People add the challenge element. not the actual-
Yeah, I was gonna say, what if it's as like annoyingly challenging as like getting that the achievement on the Shatterer, where you have to stun him like every single time, because you usually need everybody on the same page fairly well.
I'm a little bit skeptical because this is supposed to be a farm, like a profitable farm. I mean, it'll level. It won't be, it'll dip really low and then it'll even out eventually. But it's weird that it's a challenging farm. Like those two words don't usually connect.
Yeah.
Well, I think what he's trying to go with the word farm is that you put time in, you get money out, and it is profitable in the case that you spend time here, you will get more leather out of spending an equal amount of time elsewhere, because you were specifically trying to gain leather. Like that's what they say this whole thing is involved in. So that to me is what farm means. Is you put time here, it gets you more of X thing that you want than if you try to do that anywhere else. Like the AB multi-map thing, you were getting way more ectos, so that was an ecto farm. I'm sure there have been other ecto farms that showed up across the game throughout its history, things that I usually end up missing because I don't spend time on Reddit or the forums as much. But that's what I get with farm. Challenging, I do wonder about that, but it's still one of those things that I wonder if it's like a cycling meta thing. So technically, your time is a finite set thing. You have X time and you get Y leather. So it's
Yeah, it
better
could be.
than anywhere else. So
It could be like this area of the. Let's say this happens in Bitterfrost Frontier. It's unlikely that's going to happen, but let's just pretend. What if the elixir, the Cold North, whatever it's called? What if that was only open for 15 minutes every hour? So you got to rush in there, get as much as you can before it boots you back out of the area.
like
That's
the
not how
labyrinth.
it works, but like the
Right.
labyrinth, like the labyrinth, exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean that could add a level of challenge, right? Because you're trying to maximize, or you're trying to optimize how much leather or how much materials you can get in a given period of time.
And chat does bring up a good point. Like, there is one more type of group content that still is used. What if there is like a specific fractal mode, or
The leather
like,
fractal.
maybe we're gonna get a secret cow level? I mean, we're going for leather.
How funny would that be?
As long as I get the proper voice actors for it.
Yeah.
Heck, you never know. Someone might have been.
Can you imagine they put and somebody made this joke on Reddit actually, where you have to throw a bunch of stuff in the Mystic Forge to make the portal, and then people in the open world put in LFG opening cow level. Join on my group, 5 gold a person if you want to get into the cow level.
No, the problem is then people are mad because someone does it in like the
right.
the Divinity's Reach Mystic Portal, and behind that, they're like, no, I can't get in. They're like, well, tough.
They tricked us. Lake Doric is the hidden cow level.
Oh man.
Oh, let's start that rumor. I love it.
It's not. It's not.
And it has too much water. Oh, good.
Seeker Quaggan level. There you go. See, we're making it more believable. Or no, secret horse level. They say there's no horses in Tyria. That's where they all are, in this one
Well,
dimension.
One area.
Well, Hat saying that there's a dead horse in the field and we beat it for leather.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just mine it.
The challenging part is it has a break bar. You have to do it so you can,
But-
grab it.
That's the other thing that Kate brought up is skinning for leather. And if they added like a utility knife as like another harvesting method, so you could skin stuff or you could like cut stuff. As
You're just trying to
then
sell me
one,
another harvesting tool.
Yes, I'm trying to sell it on both. I'm trying to sell it as both. We get materials and ArenaNet gets money. So
You do realize that they would just give the same animation as the basic sickle where you bend down and saw
Yeah.
away.
I'm totally aware of that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Would you just
Can you
skin
imagine?
Would you just skin champions, like world bosses, or champions that
Everything.
pop out of meta.
Go get them. Go get them friendly Moas. Those neutral Moas. Go get them.
Running up to the Claw Jormag with a skinning knife. Ah!
I mean, in a way, it's funny. Like I'm not sure that's the way they're going, but how interesting would that be if you find I don't know, like a little pen of Moas that are all neutral. You kill them all, and then you skin it. It's just like finding like a Strawberry Patch Farm or something like that, you know.
They should turn the
God.
CERN in Queensdale event to neutral Moas. He's like, protect my Moas, and it's like, no, wait, what are you doing?
Oh,
I need the
Look at my
leather.
Moas.
That's terrible.
Need
Skinning
feathers.
chars. Netco, that's terrible. We're not going to skin chars in PvP.
Oh, that'd be fun to do in World v. World.
Ugh.
I could see the axe in World vs. World.
There you go. That would make more sense. I don't know, like something like that. It would be an interesting thing to have, like unique harvesting off of like special, like the Claw of Jormag. Like if you had some kind of story-based harvesting thing where it's like, yeah, you have to kill the Claw of Jormag, and you have a chance to get like a frosted hide patch or something, and you needed that for something specific to do. I know that's, you know, kind of old school MMO grindy, but it's something to look forward to, especially if it's like a smaller niche kind of thing, like if it was for a cosmetic set of leather armor or, you know, like another set of skins. Like that would be a great way to put new armor skins in game, is to put them in as collections like that, where you had to go get like unique materials off of special like world bosses or stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I could definitely see that part of like a collection of something for something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting how they would handle it, since we have the looting, the resource system where everybody can loot it. Does it turn that object into a node? And then, if that's the case, is it gonna litter the map for, like, you're just gonna look on like the mini map and just see nodes everywhere?
It's
Like,
gonna be dead animals all over the place
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
can skin.
then I'm gonna see a screenshot
yeah.
of someone that tried to like kill Moas in a certain order to spell something out on the map.
Kind of weird, yeah.
I guarantee you, if that happens, there'll be a Reddit thread. Guild Wars 2 made me a vegetarian or something like that.
Or you'd see the send nudes in dead Moas.
Yeah, exactly. I won't lie, when chat was saying to not touch the pygmy Moas, all I could think of was Anakin for episode 3, be like, you slay the younglings.
Oh God.
You
What,
with the
too soon?
chosen one.
It was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Lighten up. Jeez. But yeah, so they also did say there's not going to be a skill balance update, but they're going to ship it off cycle from the Living World releases. So how do you guys feel of no balance update for at least episode 4? And
I am
probably
okay
episode
with
5,
them
since
being. I am okay with them being decoupled with the living story updates, because generally speaking, PvE living world is if you cannot die, you can finish the story. And that's not necessarily meaning you can finish the achievements, but if you can avoid dying, you can get the story.
Heck, some of them can't even fail. They're
Fair point. If you do them, if you have a pulse and can contemplate
yeah.
working a computer, you can complete them. But that's totally okay. Like generic game balancing, I'm totally okay with being decoupled from Living World updates.
I'm usually fine with it being outside of the PvP seasons, but I mean, like you're saying, it doesn't really matter pretty much what build you go into for living story stuff if you're not going after maybe a particular achievement or something. It starts to turn it into Guild Wars 1 build wars, but I'm a little surprised that they're not considering it during a living world, since it doesn't seem like it should matter as much.
I mean, my knee-jerk reaction was I was really upset, because I've been hearing rumors for at least a month now about supposed changes coming. Still haven't heard anything about Revenant, but that's besides the point. And so I really believe that the balance patch was coming like any Tuesday now. And to hear that, nope, you're not getting a balance patch, you'll get it sometime,
Eventually.
was like, really? Really? No balance patch? Like some classes, and Revenant I'm very biased on, but take Revenant out of the picture, Necromancer, an Engineer to some extent, even Guardian and Thief a little bit, all need buffs, all need a little bit of help for optimal play. And I know that not everybody, and a large portion of the audience doesn't achieve to play that way, and that's fine. You don't have to. Raids certainly are not difficult enough where it's that important to play optimally all the time, regardless of the way that pugs sort of view the scene. But to have a class that you like and that you play and that was nerfed not too long ago and just haven't been able to enjoy it the same way, like balance patches are very important for the health of any MMO. And ArenaNet's started to get good at, separating PvP from world versus world, but we haven't ever really seen, recently anyway, like a PvE-focused balance patch, which I was really hoping for. The other message that this sends to me, and we'll talk about this more in a little bit, I'm sure, is that the raid is not going to be launching with this patch, more than likely. Because if we were getting a new raid wing, we would probably be getting a balance patch. So the message it sends to me is that the raid is going to be a little whiles off yet, and we'll probably get a balance patch a week or maybe before then. My only fear, and this might be an unfounded fear, but my only fear is that we're not going to see another balance patch till the next PvP season's getting ready to start, and then those are always PvP-centric for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So, logically, there's nothing wrong with getting that balance patch a little bit later. Like you said, it's not that important to playing the personal story or the living world story kind of stuff because, those builds aren't overly important to playing through the story. They're more important for things like fractals and raiding and that kind of content. It just signals to me that we're not getting a whole lot of that content right away. We may get a new fractal, but as far as raids go, I think we're still a little ways off, unfortunately.
Don't worry, I'm sure they'll give Revenant stealth just like Thieves.
They gave it to like 3 other people. Give it to everyone else. It doesn't matter anymore.
That is the face of a defeated thief right there. Just give it to everybody else now. What's the point?
Look, engineers have it. Mesmer already has it. Rangers have it.
They don't
have it.
It's still mostly readily available to Thieves. It's most readily available to Thieves for stealth. I'm still pissed off about stealth stomping in general. I don't mind blinking because that's more a function of the combat engine because that's using skills that you can use while channeling. So like the shadow step away and then blink back to the target when you finish the stomp. Whatevs. That's fine. That requires skill. Stealthing yourself and then stomping. That's
I can't stealth stomp anymore anyway because I'll just get cleaved out, so it doesn't matter. For the balance patch stuff, I'm kind of upset. Not like hugely, but it's just I guess it has to do with PvP. But I think I understand why. Because from a PvP point of view, you want skill balance updates to come as soon as possible when you see something is wrong. And this has been apparent in other seasons as well. With, for example, Season 1, Condi Rev and Bunker Mesmer was like a huge issue, and then it didn't get a change until it was affecting Pro League. And then that's when they actually did something. So I want ArenaNet to patch it as much as possible when they see something that's wrong and that's something that they can fix. They get feedback probably daily on it, so I'm not saying like patch every week or so. I'm just saying if you identify something that's strong or that's something that needs fixing, you should patch it as soon as possible. Now the problem with that is that it's not a game like League of Legends or Overwatch where there is just PvP. It's an MMO. You have other modes to think about, and I think that's where the problem lies. So more so when you change something, you affect mostly fractals and raids and that type of content, other than World vs. World 2, but I feel like it's kind of less impactful because it's more like World vs. World is kind of like group content, so I mean I could be wrong at times, but
they have that note on the tooltip now that says this skill functions differently in different game modes.
yeah.
Oh, there's at least that. So now that they're kind of it seems like they're gonna diverge a lot more on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. More frequent stuff. I do remember you brought back when I actually started trying to watch pro stuff on Twitch when it was Bunker, Condi, Mesmer, and Revenant, and I think the match that I watched, a single point got capped, and nobody even went down in the full 15 minutes of the match. Yeah. And it was just the points from like one team got one cap, and I think they had something like 250 points by the end of the match, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I just remember watching, and then even the casters, they're talking about it, and they sound bored. So, and it's their job to make it sound exciting, so when they're struggling with it, like, Bunker has its place, but it needs to not be the best thing for everybody. But I don't know, speaking of, like, balance, I'm not really noticing anything that feels super frustrating lately. Like the one. Well, I play mostly Elementalist, and then I play Warrior. I'm squishy as hell, so I get
Warrior's in an interesting spot. I guess as a Warrior in PvE, you could complain that you really kind of have two builds. Nike sort of
phalanx strength.
Third. Well, one is Condi, one is regular old phalanx strength. The idea is to provide it regardless, and banners, of course, are super important. But Warrior is an important class to play. You need them. You really want them, rather. And then Elementalist, well, I mean, best class in the game. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. Strong everywhere, and that's not me saying they need a nerf, but they're just good everywhere. That's a good class to play, right?
It's easy to, like, when I started playing the game, I started playing Elementalist because I love Double Dagger. Because it just felt completely weird for what was, like, the caster, like one of the caster classes, but here I am being this, like, melee flippy ninja thing.
Yeah.
So it was just, compared to any other Elementalist in any other game, it just felt amazingly different. No, Mac, I'm actually like, that was the last thing that I felt that was super just weird, was when Dragon Hunters had the days on their traps. Because it would just be this mindless, I press a trap and I interrupt the target, and it was just constant. It didn't feel like I couldn't do anything because I have to cap the point in order to win the game. I can't pull the Dragon Hunter off point, so I have to go onto the point to fight the Dragon Hunter, but then I get dazed by the trap, so I can't fight the Dragon Hunter. Yeah. So them losing the daze, totally okay. I'm still kind of with Deo that they should have kept bleed on that trait instead of going to daze and now slow.
Yeah. I think mostly I think the problem is just with, there's a lot of unblockables, there's a lot of blocks in the game, there's a lot of boons going around. So I think that's pretty much the meta is right now. It's just boons, unblockables, and blocks and things like that. But I think support Elementalist is really good. It's always really good. Like, if you are half decent at it, you'll just never die. I think actually they need more damage options. I mean, the only one I see is Scepter and Staff, I guess, but outside of that, there's not many options, so I think they can utilize from that. Dragon Hunter, it's such a Dragon Hunter is in such a weird spot because if you nerf it, it'll be bad, but if you buff it, it'll be good. I think right now it's in a decent spot. It's annoying at times, but sometimes it's easy. Kind of. It's kind of that weird. Warrior, I think, is in a good spot. I want them to bring back Hammer though. That'd be nice. But more CC. That's another thing. There's a lot of CC too, but Necro, I think, is in a decent spot. It could use a bit more survivability though. Thief is in a decent spot. Condi options are still kind of meh, but anyway, Rangers in a decent spot, I guess. Everyone's in a decent spot now I think about it, in my opinion.
Some are slightly stronger than others.
Some are slightly stronger than others, but
they're kind of close, I guess.
In general, it's actually kind of impressive, the level of balance that they have right now.
PvP.
For PvP. No. You can find an okay amount of success on pretty much any class. You have to know what you're doing with it, and some classes and some builds of those classes will be a hell of a lot harder to find success, but if you have the skill to do it, you can do it.
Revenant's a little rough after the nerfs, but
Revenant's the one thing.
I mean, you need to be a lot more skilled than you used to be, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but they might have nerfed it a tiny bit too much in PvP.
I didn't know. I totally forgot about the stability nerf, that you have to actually successfully evade to get the stability. And I honestly thought because when I wanted to finish someone, I usually dodge and then to get stability in case they had CC. Mm-hmm. But I totally, and that kind of I think that's why I have been having a little bit of a harder time, because I'm not getting that stability again. Revenant, I feel like it's so weird. I'm more into Condi Rev than Power Rev, but Power Rev I just haven't been having much success on. I just feel off for some reason, and I'm not that horrible at it, but I don't know. It's just maybe it's just a season thing, but.
And I was thinking on what you were saying. You'd want to see some more frequent updates for PvP for balancing. It was actually something that a Rioter, Skarazard, one of the developers for League of Legends, he tweeted something about it, and it was kind of a rant on, I think it was the video game board on 4chan. But it was somebody complaining about Super Smash Bros. Melee not being part of a major, like it wasn't on a Sunday, which is apparently a big slot for a day. The tournament wasn't that day, and somebody posted this 4 or 5 paragraph long response as to why it would be dumb to have Melee there, and what it came down to is he called Melee a solved game.
Right.
There are no changes. The best of the best stuff has already been figured out. The people who are the best have been playing for 10 years at this point. So nobody new can play the game, because you can't just pick up a game and beat 10 years of experience, unless you're Faker or something. I don't know. But so having something like that as a major tournament, you'd basically see the same 4 people who are the best just stomping whoever's in their part of the bracket, getting to the end of the tournament, and them having their fight against each other like they always do, playing the same picks that they always do, and it's a toss-up of microseconds as to somebody not putting in the commands quickly enough to do what they needed to do for somebody winning. Now, something like skill balance, that changes that, because Mac was talking about it's nearly impossible to make everybody perfectly balanced and distinct. Well, that's the problem, is you kind of have to let the meta shift. You have to have people who are strong and people who are weak, and you have to let that go back and forth. And then it's one of those things where you have to determine how long you want those cycles to be. So, like, Revenant was really strong when it got introduced. I remember reading about how powerful Condi Rev was, and then it got pulled back and pulled back and pulled back, and other stuff came to the forefront, and eventually Revenant will be, OP again, or merely just strong. I would prefer to see just strong as the term used for it, not overpowered,
Sure.
but because that makes it feel less. Like, you feel less bad playing it when people complain at you for playing OP. It's like, no, it's just strong right now. I can be beaten. If I screw up, I can lose. If I don't execute perfectly, I lose. And then, if a class is weak at a given point in time, you feel more accomplished when you win with it, but it's because of your skill. It's one of those things where it's like, if you're a really skilled player and you still lose with something, then something really needs help. Unless you're just doing something completely dumb, like when they were talking about the old trait system and people were running the 14-14-14 builds.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm bringing that one back.
Oh, I miss my zoo. I miss my Ranger zoo.
That was my rant on balance for the week. So
There you go.
well, luckily they're not doing any of that.
There you go.
But they did kind of tease at us that, also in this post, that legendary armor is almost done. And they did say it might, and I want to stress this, might be shipped with episode 5. So not this February, but if they hit the episode 5 mark, about 3-ish, 4-ish months, about probably 3-ish months. And we'll potentially might, I want to say that as much as possible, might get legendary armor.
In April or May.
Wait, Inks, before you go off, let me get popcorn real quick. I just
April 1st, legendaries are coming. April 1st, legendary armor is coming to the game, guys. April Fools, just kidding. It's not coming. You got 3 more months to wait.
Well, April 1st is when they actually show a thing, and they show an image of it in the Gemstore.
Gosh, oh man.
yeah.
Legendary armor. There's a whole discussion being had about, is legendary armor holding back the next raid from being released? And I don't think that that's actually true. I think that we can get the next raid wing, or at least part of it. We have no idea whether it's going to be a single raid, it's going to be a multi-wing raid like we had before, or we actually don't know. The only thing we know is that there's going to be 4 bosses, 2 somewhat easy, 2 harder than any boss ever created, blah, blah, blah. It's possible that we still get that raid sometime in February or, God forbid, March. And Legendary Armor, of course, wouldn't be done by then, but, realistically, we're looking at April or May before Legendary Armor is finally finished. Armor, I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand. I know most said it takes 9 months. Legendary Armor, even more than that, obviously. They need to figure out whatever takes 9 months, whatever is involved in all that process, they need to streamline it somehow. They need to focus some resources on that and figure out how to make that less than 9 months. Because after Legendary Armor is released, they will never, ever do Legendary Armor ever again. It's too time-consuming for them. I mean, this Legendary Armor has taken them way too long to come out.
Well, I think the only reason it took that long was they were probably having to get the IP for Transformers. I mean,
yeah, they had to take it off of Michael Bay's Cold Dead Corpse, which Michael Bay's Cold Dead Corpse still makes explosion movies, so it's I think he's a lich at this point, and his phylactery is divided up into all the movies.
I was gonna say that's what took so long. They would send him like, "This is what we have proposed." And he's like, "Where's all the explosions? It's armor." Huh?
Legendary armor.
Look. As long as the trench coat rolls up for the medium
I
set,
kind of hope they do, just so it's. I think it'd just be hilarious.
That was amazing.
and then somebody like takes the video of it and they overlay just and it just swooshes up. But I was actually having a discussion because Arlie's husband, he joined us for Zero to Hero this past week. We actually streamed until 11 of all things instead of the normal 9 o'clock because ranked was just an absolute shit show. So we did a bunch of unranked and we did shenanigans there. But we were having a discussion, and they know people at ArenaNet, and I think they talk from time to time. I don't know. But I understand, and I've called bullshit on, but the clipping, which has been the complaint for armor a lot. And I understand that you kind of have to make sure that an individual piece doesn't clip too egregiously with all of the armor in the game. But for some reason, I feel like 9 months does not fit that. Like, it just feels like, because Sylvari and Human and Norn are all relatively the same body structure. Except for, Norn shoulder pieces, which are apparently Guild Wars 2's homage to World of Warcraft. But generally speaking, clipping on those 3 player character models are going to be the same issues. Asura, kind of the same, because they still have the same, proportions, kind of. Just, shorter, so you have to condense the model. Some of the more intricate models or larger models have problems there, but Char becomes the real problem, and we've all seen armor on Char. But the clipping literally describes armor on Char.
Yeah.
Which sucks, because that's like one of the reasons I love what they did in Guild Wars 2 is that they had a humanoid race that wasn't just, it is a human with cat ears and a tail. Like, the Char are actually a bestial race. That's something I appreciate their art team doing. I really do. Yeah. So it's entirely possible that 9-month cycle could be them just trying to do armor for the Asura and the Char. Because I can only assume that they probably prototype on Human, because basically every dev starts out with Human, because it's just kind of like an easy default to work with, because you can kind of get a feel for the proportions on a person.
Yeah. But I just... And granted, I know nothing about how to design armor or an outfit for, character in Guild Wars 2. I have zero training in that, but clearly making an outfit is easy, or fairly easy. They churn them out, pretty quickly. What is it about armor which they basically chop up? Well, I'm sure they design each individual piece and then have to piece them together, which would be a lot more work, obviously. But, why can't they take an outfit and break it into pieces, or come up with a layering feature so that you can put an outfit on and layer old armor over top of it, or
that was
be able to turn off.
Yeah.
They have that, or they had it, or they have it still. I mean, if you get Order of Whispers light armor, and I think one of the light armors that's like the big, almost like skull or something like that, it actually at least used to say on there, I haven't looked in a while, but it would say it hides the shoulder slot skin. Like, right. So like I've always said that. I'm like, if for some reason they can't cut it apart right, literally say that, because I always felt if you are mixing and matching, that's part of the Fashion Wars game. Like, make it look good, make it fit, with all the pieces and all the faults of that piece. Or
and talking about, they can churn out outfits. I think that's kind of the thing where they have to, like, but the clipping comes out and, it's checking for the most egregious thing. With outfits, you always know what the rest of the outfit is going to be. So you're literally only checking against what the rest of that outfit is for that given player character model. So I can kind of understand why it's easier to churn those out, just especially when checking for clipping, but
I feel if that's the problem.
I mean, a lot of things clip, so I don't know. And at this point in the life of the game, you just kind of expect, and like you said, really bad clipping is what they focus on. There's always going to be a little bit of clipping on whatever back pieces,
especially when you're moving and doing combat and stuff. So
sure, there's a Norner classic for like looking right into their giant shoulder pad where they couldn't possibly see anything, but. Maybe when they make an armor piece, they've got to match it up to every single other armor piece that's in the game. I don't know what the process is. There's clearly something takes them really long. But if that's the case, you need to find some other solution that can bridge the gap between armor and outfit and just speed the process up somehow, whether it's layering or give each outfit piece the ability to turn it off so you can see what's underneath of it, or I don't know. But the way it's currently working and the way we're currently waiting, even when we get the next expansion, there's not going to be a ton of armor. There will be some armor, 5 sets, 6 sets, something like that. I forget how many Heart of Thorns had. But it won't be a ton of new armor. It'll be a little bit, but...
I'm definitely curious to see the number count, because I kind of always gave them an out with HOT, since they were like, oh, this is like the feature thing. This is us laying the groundwork. That's why there wasn't as much content. Like, it seems like they're building up the next expansion. Like, no, this is where all the content's gonna, like, this is where content of expansions is gonna be. And it's like, I'm curious to know, because this is gonna be kind of the standard number that people are gonna expect. And it's like, are they gonna have a lot, or are they gonna have the same amount as HOT? And then, so I'm definitely intrigued for the next expansion of what we get out of it, more so than what we got out of Heart of Thorns, since they definitely wanted that to be the creating the framework expansion.
Yeah. I made a video on outfits versus armor, and comparing that, we didn't get a ton of armors after HOT, and HOT only introduced I think 1 for each zone, I think. And then there was the World versus World armor that came out afterwards, Triumphant armor, and then there was the Glorious armor that comes out in PvP, but that's kind of just a Glorious armor.
And the Revenant, which is heavy only.
Oh, it was only 2 sets?
There's only 2 zone sets, Bladed from Verdant Brink and Leyline from Dragon's Stand. Auric Basin had the Auric weapon set, and Tangled Depths had the Chalk weapon set.
So you also did have the Guild armor as well.
Yeah, the Guild armor. Yeah,
and then the heavy only Revenant set.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like.
So how many is that? Revenant only, 2 Guild armors, and 2 zones, right?
2 zones. And then afterwards, it's 2 more with 1 World vs. World, 1 PvP, technically.
So 7, but then you have to times it by 3 because of, well, except for the Revenant one, I guess. So.
Yeah, so it was 18.
So you'd come around to like what, 19?
19, about 19 sets in total, which sounds like a lot, but well, 19 sets sounds like a lot, but
for any given character, you only get 7. Well, 6.
6.
7 if you're a heavy class.
7 if you're heavy, right.
Which makes me feel like, reminds me of Eye of the North when they had, what was it, the Eagle armor that was like for warrior only. So, like, everybody else got all these other armors, and they got this like extra. It was like Eagle, 15K armor or whatever. But
yeah, so so when it comes, I know this next expansion is going to be make or break for a lot of people, but especially since it's established like this is going to be the content expansion, this is going to have all the story, this is going to have the armor, because I'm keeping track of the AMAs. I remember all these things. It's like, well, it's like things I'm looking forward to, but if I don't get them, it's like, oh well, that's not what you said, but okay, and I'll keep playing because I just keep playing the game no matter what.
Well, darn the ArenaNet.
I'm
really
gonna
unhappy,
be
but
very
I'm gonna keep
mad while I'm
anyway.
playing your game.
You see me, ArenaNet? This is me unhappy while I'm playing.
He'll be streaming and he'll just be frowning the whole time. I hate myself for this.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of the World of Warcraft players I know.
Yeah.
Well, I play this game every day. I love it, but
I'm
sometimes...
outraged, but that's not gonna make me stop.
Wait, are you trying to say that Guild Wars 2 is going to possibly truly turn into a WoW clone? Especially its player base is going to be angry but playing it still. Like, oh, this is the worst thing ever.
Well, if you go on Reddit, it already is, so...
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, this next expansion I'm probably going to play, but I don't know if it'll actually make me stop playing the game if it's not up to snuff. I guess it would take a lot for me to stop playing the game, pretty much. Like something that would just make me go, oh no,
we deleted Thieves.
That's it. I'm done. That's what I'd have to get to. That kind of state. Otherwise, like, I will wait for fixes and things like that. Like, for example, legendary weapons, right? You guys know I make legendaries a lot, but when they
Really? I never knew.
I think we talked about it last week. Did you get any more between the week? Like,
actually, no.
Oh Jesus!
But when they indefinitely suspended them, I was sad about it. I understood the reason for it. I wasn't happy about it, but I'll still play the game, right? So if that happens with the next expansion, that type of thing, I'll still play the game, but it would have to be like something really bad, pretty much. So I don't know how we got to this point, by the way.
I don't know. We should probably warn people, though, that on last week's show we talked about how Eureka and Shushido, their precursor form, is probably going to change. It is going to change when the next legendary weapon comes out, which Arena hasn't said, but maybe this next living, so far that's been the case, right? We get a living story patch, we get a new legendary weapon. So if that happens, you're going to want to finish the precursor for Eureka or Shushido if you're working on it. And I'm this close to Eureka's precursor. I just need to deforest Maguma Jungle again and dig up all of Ascalon, and then I'll be there. But
oh really? I finished it like months ago, dude. Gotta catch up.
Fight.
H, play nice.
Okay.
Speaking of a versus match, we've talked about, this is Mike O'Brien who delivered this news, because a lot of people have been like wondering, it's like, are we gonna get like a what's ahead for this year update? Because we've gone in the past, and I've seen people try to make this, like, want to look at this comparison, and I'm curious of chat and what you guys prefer. Of the, do you prefer Mike O'Brien's method of delivering news or Colin Johansson's method of delivering news? Which, for people that don't know, Mike O'Brien, when he kind of took over, he had more of a mentality of, don't talk too much about the content. Like, I'm surprised he told us this much, like, prior to the, release. But it's usually like, don't talk too much about the content until it is released and let the content do the talking for it. And Colin Johansson's method tended to be, talk about it really early on. It's usually when it's still, like, some things were still in, like, a heavily developmental process, and let, like, the hype build up. I know for me that usually some of the stuff usually resulted in they might have had to scrap it or get pushed off for maybe another year, or, just because it was such an early on, he talked about it so early on. So I'm kind of curious of your guys' thoughts on that.
I would definitely, I totally agree with Pat, and, I said so in the Twitter message that we have. It's like, I want somewhere in the middle. Like, I want a little bit, because the hype train helps keep me playing the game, but I don't want to know everything. It's why I praise their style for beta testing so much with the way they had their PTR, is we had this tiny little part of Verdant Brink to play in. So we got to learn about that, and we got to learn the style of the Heart of Thorns maps, but we didn't get to know everything. And they're like, hey, you have this enabled and this enabled and this enabled, go do stuff, and then we'll get data. So unlike the World of Warcraft PTR, which I have always kind of hated because it's basically the full game, so people will do raid encounters, people will do quest lines, you'll know everything about whatever it is before it even releases. And it's at that point, it's like, why bother? Because you already did it, and now you have to do it for reals, But that's, like, I want to see, like, the fact that we are told, hey, February you'll get the next chapter of the Living Story. That's great. That's all I want. It's literally just, hey, we think it'll be out sometime in this period of time. If anything happens, we'll let you know. It's not, I don't want a hard date, because I'm a developer. I know hard dates are like the bane of our existence. It's the worst thing ever to have to sit on a concrete date and then you run into a brick wall of some kind of requirement. But a generic timeline is great. From the balance team, it's like, hey, we think that some of these things are generic issues. We're not quite sure how we're going to solve it, but we're looking at them. Like a developer, like a balance team rundown on a monthly or bi-monthly basis of like, hey, we kind of see from feedback we get from what we've been looking in the data, we kind of see these are the issues, this is the highs, this is the lows of each individual class, the game in total. I would like to see what they think of the data from Revenge of the Capricorn and Eternal Colosseum. I'd like to see some stuff on that. I'd like to see where we're going with WW. There hasn't been a poll in a really long time.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see the data from having the Desert Borderlands in the rotation. It's the radio silence does not keep me interested in the game.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if he actually came out and kind of gave this like little teaser preview type thing, like talking about it, just because people have been asking, like, you know, what's the road ahead, and also just because it's been that holiday break, and you know, for a lot of people it's been, you know, whatever holiday you celebrate, then like New Year's, and you know, for me it feels like, for, you know, Christmas was like a couple months ago. So, you know, when you have those more big events in, you know, your life, it makes that time seem longer. So for me it does feel like it's been like 5 or 6 months, even though it definitely hasn't been since, you know, the last update. But I'm wondering if they went that route.
Dibley likes O'Brien's style, but with like a dash of Johansson.
I'm honestly torn.
It's like that salty meme where instead of like throwing it, it's Colin Johansson's smiling face. Someone needs to make that.
Oh, no.
And then Photoshop Mike O'Brien's head on the guy, so it's just like...
I gotta agree with you, Matthias. I like an in-between type of deal. I would honestly like to know what you're working on, but it's like, you know, you're actually going to put it out type of deal. That would kind of fill the gaps a little bit news-wise, and then you would actually have content releases. Otherwise, yeah, I think it's okay that you tell us like a little bit beforehand, hey, this is going to come out, or hey, we're working on this, and that's it. You don't need hard dates. I agree with. Yeah, I disagree with that type of style. So.
Yeah, you know, I appreciate Mo's approach, especially what he's done within the last year since Colin unfortunately left. And I really did like Colin, and I like his enthusiasm for the game and all that, but I think Mo's approach has been generally better for the game over the last year. The gripe, and I really do, I appreciate when they do communicate with us. It's good. It's clear communication. You might not always like the news, but you know, they're pretty clear about the communication at least. We just need that more often. We need it a little bit more. And the Ask Me Anythings are fantastic, We need that a little bit more often, maybe like a department update every couple of months that says, hey, this is what we're looking at for World vs. World, not when it's coming, not it's going to come. This is what we're doing, because you can go months and be like, well, what are they doing, you know? We haven't seen a raid since June. What's going on? The last we heard that everything was done in the raid, it was just 50% balanced. So it's taking 3 months to balance another 50% or longer. You know what I mean? Fractal team. Fractal, the last released the Nightmare, the new Fractal, which was well received by almost everybody. You know, what's going on with the Fractal team? We haven't heard anything about the expansion. I don't expect to, but you know, maybe a blurb like, still working on that expansion, guys. It's coming along good. You know, just these little things, these little tidbits of information, not solid
Underwater combat's
information.
amazing.
Not dates or anything like that, but you know, a couple more Ask Me Anythings where they answer what the different teams are looking at, maybe, or whatever would go a long way. I definitely appreciate Mo's approach, like everybody else has been saying. Just a little bit more hype.
Yeah,
you know, we get,
No Man's Sky us.
Yeah, we get you know, there's this joke going around the community currently that, you know, we're gonna go to launch the game on a Tuesday and they're gonna say, by the way, the new expansion's out. Let's talk about that now. And it's like, wait, where was the hype train? Where's the news for content creators and for fans? And you know,
I was gonna say, I think my only.
I understand Mo's approach, especially after everything that happened with Heart of Thorns and the way it was received, but just a little bit more information, a little bit more hype.
And while I would like to see more AMAs, like just general, like you said, like being like, oh, hey, we're gonna have an AMA with the raid development team, and you know, get like little bits of insight of where they're at. The only AMA I usually am not a fan of is right when they release the living story stuff, and like literally right after it, it's like, all right, guys, what do you think? It's like, well, majority of us haven't had a chance to play it. Like, I would prefer to be like, hey, maybe the Thursday or Friday, you know, we'll do an AMA, so at least more people will be able to get in, because halftime it's like I'll be sitting at work, like, you know, not looking at Reddit, of course, and seeing people, and I'm like, you know, everybody's like, oh, I like the, you know, blah, 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 how did you do this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know what's happening, like, you know, so it's weird placement for that when you're trying to get almost like people's opinions or, you know, insight on something.
It would be really great fuel for their Friday show, which we haven't seen in a little while now, that if they did a Thursday Ask Me Anything, they could answer it on Reddit just like they always do, which is fantastic, but then maybe take a couple of those key points, throw it into a show, boom, you have their podcast. And they have the developers, you know, you hear it from the developer's mouth, which is really important. And
I actually really liked when they had the guys showing off like some of the highlights of the things they were doing in like the Heart of the Mist, when they were showing off like test skills on some of the dummy golems. That was great.
Yeah.
So.
And they do seem to do a show every once in a while when they have a release, like after the release or whatever. But just a few more. You need to squeeze a couple more in a year, even when there's maybe not a patch coming, you know, that week or something.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, like, I am torn as someone that, you know, when we do a weekly Guild Wars 2 podcast, I loved Colin Johansson's method because he would sprinkle it out all over, like hype all the way through. So we had, you know, a good amount of time stuff to talk about. Mo's method, unfortunately, doesn't really adhere to that, but I do appreciate it as a gamer because, like I said before, you know, it's not, you know, hyping me up and maybe, you know, ruining my expectations. It's like, oh, it wasn't as great as I thought, or, you know, you see that a lot. It's like a lot of people hype it up, or, you know, maybe.
And I know that developers and people in general hate deadlines because sometimes you just can't make that damn deadline no matter what you do. But and I don't remember Guild Wars 2 pre-launch, but one of the things I really loved about SWOTOR's launch, which unfortunately didn't go so well at the end of the day, but every Friday they had something. Sometimes it was like a paragraph of nothingness, but they had something, either a class reveal, lore about something, a story, icon updates, like leading up to SWOTOR's launch. Every Friday they had a news update about something, and that kept the community engaged, overly engaged perhaps, until the launch, which I know that's dangerous, but it was so great. Every Friday I knew I'm going to SWOTOR's website. It launches at about 1 o'clock, and I'll read my news.
It's okay, because they have the best business model of an MMO.
Yeah.
Don't get me started, please. Please. All right. I was going to say something. Damn it. I forgot my thought. Go on.
Well, I mean, I was to say if there's any more thoughts, let's change. If there isn't any more thoughts, let's change gear to the changes that
wait,
are. Oh, okay.
I actually do.
I didn't finish the sentence, so you're good. Okay.
I was going to ask you guys if, given that I think we kind of want a balance between the two type of styles of giving news. So, as of like this moment right now, if you had one piece of news that you would like to hear about, whether it be like what's going on, it doesn't have to be concrete or anything. Just something you'd like to hear about. What would it be? Just one thing.
Oh man.
One piece of like news that they're working on or something.
Yeah, just.
I would love to hear, and this is going to be like most people probably could care less. I want to know how and they'll never tell us. I want to know how their internal structuring is now working compared to how it was pre-Heart of Thorns. In other words, we know, for example, there's 3 living story teams, and they run in cycles. We know there's like a 5 or 6 man fractal team, a 5 or 6 man raid team, and a lot of times I think that information that we learn from Ask Me Anythings gives this impression to myself and probably many others that some of those departments feel drastically understaffed. Like, hey, the fractal team's doing really great. You know what would be even better? 2 6-man fractal teams or 2 6-man raid teams where this one produces a raid and this one's working on something, and they flip-flop. That comes back to personnel and how many devs are actually available, unfortunately. But I would love news on that.
I would personally like that. I just want to say this real quick. I would personally like that, but I feel like they won't do that. I don't feel like any game company will do that because
they'll never tell us.
Because the inner game developer and everyone that apparently that they know everything will just come out and then they'll be judgmental and stuff. Sadly.
Yeah, we kind of got a taste of that when I think they said they had like 70 devs working on the expansion or something.
Yeah.
And that started to exactly open the, break the dam a little bit, like.
Yeah.
Personally, the one thing that I would like to, and this is the game dev in me, because I played around with a little bit of homebrew prestige class stuff when I was playing D&D 3.5, I would like to see just like, these are some ideas we're toying around with for elite specs for each class. Just like 2 or 3 archetype kind of things that fit. And that would be like, that would just make my mind explode with speculation on stuff. Like, if they said, oh yeah, we were thinking about giving Thief Rifle and having like a Sniper Elite spec, and I'd just be like, give, please. Which I understand being an elementalist when it was data mined that they were giving us swords. I can totally understand why they probably wouldn't, because I remember when they're like, elementalists are getting Warhorn, and people were like, but sword.
Yeah, sword is much cooler than a horn.
Well, to be fair, if there was any class that was going to make Warhorn interesting, it was going to be elementalist, because you get 8 skills instead of 2.
And they're full of hot air.
Oh boy.
Okay, what about you, Dale?
I'm going to agree with Messex on that. I want to know about their stance on fishing. Like, how close are they to finishing that, 'Cause it's going in, right? It's going in, clearly.
Oh, no. Dude, we had a long talk about this. We're not going to do it again. We had 2 long talks about this. For me, I just want to know what's going on with World vs. World, to be honest. That's all, really.
I think a lot of people
anything, really anything that's happening. I'd just like to know, because I would love a tournament, but I don't know if we're close to that or anything. I don't know if we're close to finding out a score system that that people like. Because we've swapped to like our third set now, and I'd like something, anything really.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I would be, if I worked for ArenaNet, it's a big if, I would be terrified to be assigned to the World vs. World team. It's like a death sentence to your career. It's terrible to say. It's terrible to say, but it feels like they're like, here you go, this guy's in charge now, and everybody's like, yay! And then one disappears. He just fades into the mists. And then this guy's in charge now, and then he disappears as well.
To be fair, fading into the mist is very fitting for the World v. World,
It's harsh. It's harsh.
One thing that always kind of bugged me about WV is they tried to make a change going into Heart of Thorns. They tried to, like, change what they thought, and the community is like, no, this is our WV. Don't take away our Zerging. Don't take away our other things. And Arena is like, but it's kind of shit to balance for. And it's kind of hard to develop new stuff for it to make it more interesting. But we don't want change. Like, that was like one of the things that I felt like I kept reading stuff about WW, and it's like all of the major voices that were shouting into the wind were just, we don't like change. And I admit, I'm not part of the WW thing. That was just me as an outsider, and it could have been very much not that. And I was just getting the wrong impression from what I was reading. But, yeah, working for the WW team would just seem really, really harsh.
Yeah, it's tough because in World vs. World, you have communities within communities, right? You have solo roamers, you have guild versus guilders, you have Zerg, you have anti-Zerg people, anti-blob mentality, you have people who like defending, you have people who don't want to have that part of the game. You have so many different like micro-communities within the community of World vs. World, and they're all screaming different things at the same time. It's tough. That would be a tough gig.
Because I was thinking about like what would make World vs. World a bit more interesting, and I got inspired by Overwatch actually. So I was thinking like during events like right now Overwatch has a lunar event. I felt like if you did something in World vs. World kind of lunarish, like if you decorated some of the keeps or things like that, if you give envelope drops or have an envelope reward track, or just give a little something, a little incentive, or change something up a little bit. Like it would promote like like that you care about the mode, that you want people to play it, get involved. Because I right now I just don't feel it. Yeah.
But Jim was talking about how people hate change in World v. World. Well, I don't know if I'm sure some people are going to hate this change that they've announced for PvP, but I think overall it's going to be a good thing. So there's going to be a change to the league rating system. Basically, they're going to enable a minimum game requirement to be on the leaderboard. So each time decay is calculated and a player does not meet the requirement, they will be removed from the leaderboard, and there will be a UI feature to display this requirement. And they said for Season 5, which is the current one, it will be a minimum of 40 games. So, and they did say that this is kind of like a quick Band-Aid fix for Season 5. They are going to look at it for the future seasons and probably change that minimum requirement. And they did say, it could be 10 per week. It could, be 1 a day. It could be 20 per 2 weeks. Whatever. But overall, what are you guys' thoughts on this requirement for the leaderboards? And honestly, why is it important if you're not a PvP player? Is there something special about being on that leaderboard?
Well, is the leaderboard what the criteria for getting the titles at the end?
Yes. There's a top 250 leaderboard. So every amount, I think, top 250, top 100, top 50, top 25, top 10, top 5, top and then number 1. Top 3, actually, I think. So they all each reward different titles based on where you end up. And you had people basically just doing placements and just being at the top of the leaderboard just because they did super, super well placements.
Because their win rate would be 100, they'd win all 10 of their placements. Their win rate would be 100%. It's sorted based on win rate.
Yeah, and they may be really good at PvP and just destroyed the enemy teams in all 10 of their games and something like that. So they would just automatically be top 10 right away, which kind of just doesn't disincentivizes actually playing to get anywhere in top 250. So,
and I didn't even think about it. What Netco just said in chat, that it'll stop people who planned on cheating on the last day of just steamrolling their placement matches.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, and in NA, there's a whole other issue about there was pro players buying games and all kinds of shadiness. And if you look at the leaderboard, there's like first place was occupied by somebody who was 12-0. Like you played 12 games. And that's it. That's it. You're number 1, and you're just gonna like try and ride that out rather than this progression of continue to play, continue to fight to stay on top. And I think that it depends what number they finally settle on for a fresh season. But for this season, I think 40 is not really asking. I mean, if you're really a PvP player and you're playing because you're trying to prove how good you are, or you want to have that ranking, you want to be deserving of the title, then you should have to play quite a few games, not just 12 and be done with it,
Yeah.
My whole thought is that it's kind of like you need like a participation score. Like you have to basically do what is the equivalent of X number of games per day. And hell, I've capped the 40 game mark, and mostly I just play ranked during 0 to Hero every Wednesday. It's not hard to attain. So it's one of those things where it's like if you have to play basically the 3 a day that you need for the achievement, if that's the requirement, then that probably wouldn't be a too terrible thing to make like the participation.
Wait,
Or
so
like
I'm surprised you're saying pro players were actually paying for like actual matches?
I think it was a single player, but
Like, do you have to be pro, and how much? Like, I think I got like $3. $3 good, or like, do I need?
Basically, people would pay people to probably dodge queue in order to preserve their rating if they saw the enemy team and figured out the odds that they were going to lose and things like that. So, and they would pay the people for actually leaving the match and things like that. So
that they would get dishonor and you get you basically get a forgiven loss.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And just in case, if somehow ArenaNet sees that and goes, "Oh well, let's ban Deo's account," go look at my PvP record. You'll probably look and see, geez, even if he does fix it, he probably won't go in. So there's no point of.
Can you even play ranked, Dave?
I did get to 20. I did get to 20, and then I probably like the first time. I think the first season, like that they rolled that out. So and then I had a good intention to do it, and I think I played a couple matches. And I don't know. I get bored with PvP real quick. I don't know why.
No, the only thing they need to do is to actually have like end of season rewards based on the rank that you're at. To actually encourage people to try and get a decent ranking. So,
are we gonna get it? Okay.
No, we're not gonna get into that. I don't want to get into that because that'll be a whole nother rabbit hole, and it's already 5:30.
My only question is how much will that cost? $4? $4?
You'd have to come on to 0 to Hero with us.
I'll talk about it.
Is that $4 or?
I want to talk about this
later.
But honestly, what do you guys think for the future season, what the minimum requirement for this cutoff of the leaderboard should be?
I think it should be something like X. What? You're shaking
I'm just
your head.
reading what Max Stats is saying. Don't put lore in PvP.
Generally speaking, I'd say it should be like X number of games per day, like 3 games a day. It's not hard. It's 45 minutes. Usually less, 3 games a day, and it's not like you have to play 3 games every single day. It's just like, okay, if you're on day 5 of the season, you need to have 15 games in order to be on the leaderboard. So you can be at the end of the season, and as long as you marathon something, like you just marathon games, if you clip the threshold for whatever that is at the end of the season, from like, say it's like a month, like 30 days, so you'd have to have 90 games. If you marathon through all 90 games, you show up on the leaderboard wherever you go.
See, I don't like that, just because I guess it's a personal thing, but it's going to lead into my talk about decay. But I don't. When I play PvP, it's like I'm in a good mood to play PvP, or I'm set up, like I have the mind focus to play PvP. I don't want to be forced to play PvP, right?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I said it's not like you have to play X games a day. It's just the count increments on a per day basis, and your games played for the season must be greater than that. So it's not like you have to play 3 games a day, unless you're going for the Ascension achievements, which you do in order to increment that particular achievement. But I'm just saying, like I said, if you're 30 days into the season and you haven't played a single game, if you want to show up on the leaderboard, you have to play 90 games. You don't have to do it all at once, but and then if you get the next day, you have to play 93 games, and then so on and so on and so on. But eventually, and it's one of those things where it's like, eventually as a PvP player, you'll have that count, because, I mean, I think 0 to Hero, we usually end up playing like 8 to 12 games based on how the games go. And that's 4 days worth of games right there.
I think you'll see ArenaNet come up with a number under 250. 150 games, maybe.
I feel like that's a little high. That's why I'm saying that. I feel like if you did on a weekly basis, you would have like 10 games per week. I guess that would be fine.
How long is the season usually? 3 months?
Yeah.
90 days or so?
2.5 weeks.
Let's just say it's 90 days.
2.5
a game a day, or 100 games would be a little bit over a game a day.
Yeah. That'd be fine. Or a little bit over 100 to be fine with me. Because you don't want it to be like, you don't want to enforce playing PvP every day, but you also don't want to say, hey, you don't have to ever play, you just have to play that one time. You need to find that good balance, and it's either you'd have to do it on a per week basis or have for the entire season, I feel like.
Well, I think that's the thing, though, is even, regardless of that, this is just for the leaderboard. So obviously, people who care about the leaderboard, care about actually being on it, are going to be on the leaderboard regardless of what this value is set at.
Right.
I feel, because I would like to be on leaderboard, but I think depending on how many games I would have to play, it would kind of disincentivize me somewhat. I don't know.
1,000
well, that's
games.
the thing.
Because I like playing other games, right?
Well, that's why I brought up the actual rewards based on your league, because as much I've started to enjoy PvP in games because of Guild Wars 2. I'm never going to hit those title brackets. I don't have enough time to put into the game. I just don't. I don't have the time to have the game knowledge to read the animations, to have the reflexes, or the knowledge to read a situation like that. I don't have the time to develop those skills. So I'll never be there. So the leaderboards mean next to nothing to me other than saying, Age, what the hell is with your rating? Why are me and Tavik above you?
Oh.
I was above you, but now it's, you know how.
But he played and his skill showed. Oh, I got you too. Oh.
Internet hug. It's okay.
I'm coming out fighting.
My rating.
Netco's saying on the forums they said something like 10 per week.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's not asking too much, I don't think.
10 per week would be fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd also like Decay to be 7 days.
You can make those games up whenever.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one week you only play 4 games, and then the next week you play 20 games or something,
Yeah. Any final thoughts on the leaderboard idea? Is anybody really against it? I mean,
No, I think it's a good idea.
Basically, the only people who would be against it would be the people Netco mentioned as wanting to cheese out high leaderboard points at the end.
and apparently no one's giving me the price point on how to cheat it. So, but let's move on to pretty interesting. We've talked about in the past how it's like, oh, why aren't they making this in the store? If you're creative, you know a friend that's creative and wants to help you fill that deficit in the Guild Wars 2 merchandise market. Apparently, ArenaNet has partnered with We Love Fine, and they are looking for ideas for items to make with a Guild Wars 2 flavor. So we have the website right here, and you can see you basically just submit your ideas, and there's different categories like T-shirts, I think accessories, multiple different categories. I think like bags and just like wall art.
Yeah.
And you can see here as we scroll through, but some of the designs will be by players, and the creator will get a commission. And basically, if you go on there,
Wow.
you know, maybe you're not the creative type, but you can actually go on and vote for your favorites. Yeah, overall, what do you guys think about this? I mean,
I think it's cool. Yeah.
I'm all for it. You know, more
As
merchandise.
long as there's like something that like I realize that like Guild Wars 2 gets ownership of the design when you submit it. That's kind of how stuff like this works. But it'd be nice if they said on like the merchandise page, if they accept someone's design, it was like this was created by, and they at least like throw a little shout out to the person who made it. You know, credit where credit is due, kind of thing. That's. I don't know how this particular.
I was going through these earlier today, and there's this one person who's like legit an art critic, and like going through a whole bunch of these and giving like really like strong feedback, not horrible feedback, like strong feedback, like this would be better if you did this or something like this or something like this. But there's sometimes where it's like, oh, this is not good enough.
Can I say, I really like this one. Like, I think it's just so funny. It's basically a baby carrier on a T-shirt with Aurene.
Pretty good.
I would just get that just for the laughs. Like, I saw it, I was like, okay, that's pretty funny. I mean, you know, we're basically protecting her right now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What scares me is they would sell a lot of those.
Exactly.
An Aurene plushie, like a plushie of
Someone
Aurene.
did a concept of that below, actually.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah.
I think last I looked, there was maybe over 200 submissions or something. I might be wrong on that. I might have been looking at the wrong
They're
number,
a
but
lot.
yeah.
They're a lot.
But like literally the second I saw Aurene, the second she was introduced, I'm like, if they don't make a plushie of her, they're throwing away money.
Yeah, big time. It's funny because I haven't followed it in a while, so I don't know if World of Warcraft still does this, but they used to make plushies, and then when you bought the plushie, you also got a miniature version of it in game as well, right? So there's marketing potential for both of those things in Guild Wars 2, and they would sell a lot of them.
Definitely. Like it would definitely be worth it.
I would like the Cloggin mug, by the way, so I can ship one to Dale.
Oh, it got broken during shipping. Oh, darn.
Alright, I'll send you another one. I'll send as many as it takes.
There you go, Rena. I am funding everything for you right now because apparently the packaging just keeps shattering that mug. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure Krista would want the Quaggan mug.
Well, there you go. Send it to her, and you know.
I'll send one to her too.
Yeah, I think this is the one you're talking about.
There it is. It's so cool.
Yeah, like I said, there's a
They
lot of
would
cool
sell
things
them.
here. But yeah, any thoughts or anything like? I'm curious. Like, is this from the sounds of it? It sounds like this is more of a think tank thing of they're gonna take the votes or maybe their own thing and then mass produce it, or is this more like an Etsy type thing where it's based on, you know, kind of each person?
Not sure.
From the sounds of it,
never-
it sounds like the first one, but
I've never tried this before, so that'd be very interesting to see. Like, if if you scroll up to like the shirt before the dark ones, where they had a concept art of that Norn on the side, I would kind of like that, but like a thief version of it.
There's
I
a
would
Yeah.
there's a T-shirt design where it has the Iron Legion. It has 4 char on it. It's Iron Blood Ash, and I have no friends for the Flame Legion.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I think this is the first time I've ever wanted to hug a Flame Legion char because I feel bad for him.
That was so good. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cool designs. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Hopefully, we see more stuff come to the store because I think we've all said that. Like Jim was saying, and like chat was kind of teasing us. Oh no, another plushie rant. Like, it's
Printing
Tibble.
money.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not lying, is he? I would print money.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
more-
no. The feels.
So yeah,
But-
definitely. If you're watching us on YouTube, we'll have the link in there. Definitely check it out. Because I've even seen like Gail. I think someone reposted because I've seen it a couple times. Someone made a character. I think originally it was of D-Roar's character, if I remember correctly. Like 3D printed it, and they were like, "Oh, heck, submit it," and and I think she was actually recommending possibly putting accessories because I don't think they have like an action figure or a figurine spot yet, but maybe now that we have 3D printing more readily available, that could be a thing. Which
Well, that was
honestly, I don't know if you're about to say this, Jim, but that's one thing I liked about when World of Warcraft did it for a very short time. I would probably do that in Guild Wars 2. Of like you could get a 3D printed version of your World of Warcraft character. Like I would do that for my Norn.
I would guarantee you I would get my Guardian. Just flat out, I would actually get my Guardian and just have him sitting on my desk because that's
be cool, yeah.
Guild Wars 2 is like the best game possible to do that with. It really is.
Oh, so many possibilities. You'd have people making more than one.
Guaranteed,
yeah.
yeah. There would be people who would put their entire retinue of characters.
Can you imagine? Someone with 64 characters was just like, again,
Oh
make it
my
again,
God.
another one.
Well, Kate, I was actually talking to Kate in chat one day, and she was talking all of her characters are female, and then she's got one male, and it's her bank character. And I was talking to her, and in my head, I see all of her characters walking along, and then he's just sitting there. They're on a shopping trip, and he's just balancing this giant pile. I could see her building that, and then just placing little boxes on top of him as he's. And that just would look awesome on a shelf.
Absolutely.
Oh, that'd be really fun. That would entice people like Aurora to make all of it. Oh my goodness, yeah, that would be such a gold mine.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't even know if WoW still does it. Maybe just no one responded to it, or, I mean, maybe so many people are getting hurt because of the polygon count on their freaking character models. But
Yeah, it caused a lot of cuts.
yeah, but here, it's nice and smooth. But maybe they won't do it because of clipping. Sorry, bitter. But yeah, hopefully we see more stuff come through here and get more more mass produce of this kind of stuff because I think that's one thing I've always seen. We always talk about people are become a developer and think they know everything. We were just talking about it earlier. This is your chance to kind of be the creator, and people are going to vote on it. And I don't know if that's their criteria of picking the stuff, the highest voted, or they're just going to pick, what's more feasible and all that stuff. We don't know their criteria for that. But, we could possibly see, plushies, backpacks, all the stuff that is even in the Gemstore, because I've seen that. I saw the Quaggan hats up there earlier. It's I'm sure people would buy it. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, hopefully we see more of that, but,
I survived much from. I didn't see that one. That's hilarious. Oh,
yeah, look,
man.
a lot of great ideas here. So I can't wait to see what does get picked. But any final thoughts on this creating of content.
There's no Abaddon picture I saw. How does that make you feel, Dave?
He
He's
just
in
hasn't
every-
submitted it yet.
Just like in the game,
Oh,
he's in
I want
every
that
single
image.
item.
I
You just
can
don't
send
know
you
it
that
yet.
image I made last time. I think I still have it.
Abaddon.
I think I still have it somewhere.
But yeah, we already talked about stuff that potentially you might one day be able to get out of game. Let's talk about the stuff that you can currently get in game. So always thank you to Dolphy, Dolphy.net. Check it out. It lets you spend your gems more wisely so you don't have to waste them. So first up, let us look at the Rox's Pathfinding outfit. And it is 700 gems. Do note, going back to the first thing, it is an outfit. All or nothing, you can hide the helmet, and you can see the dyed channels there. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the Rox's outfit?
One of the things I've heard is that it looks like garbage on anything but female char.
I mean,
Really?
as I was looking at it,
Really?
I kind of like
I
the...
haven't really looked at it, but
Like, I'm looking at the picture right now on... So, my only... Besides that it's an outfit, my only complaint or dislike about this is that the male seems to have, like, this breastplate, which is really cool looking. On a female, it's just a piece of leather, you know, like they're... And I know that male-female is generally different, but that breastplate is pretty cool looking. So, I don't know.
Yeah, like Chad's saying, it's looking a bit ninja-ish. Like I was gonna say, when I was seeing it on like the female human, like when I was gathering some of the images, like it reminded me of like those neoprene masks you can kind of get for like winter wear and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah.
mhm.
I want to be.
Which
a
I
ninja.
kind of liked it, but yeah, once again, kind of like what Inks was saying. But I'm gonna go down that road of, because it's an outfit, I was like, I like the helmet, I could see it on things, but
It's
you know,
an outfit.
yeah. So
It looks better on female, in my opinion, overall.
Really?
Yeah. I always have that problem whenever I look at outfits. It's usually just better on female. And it kind of deters me from buying it. Like this one, it has like a ninja feel to it on the females, but less so on the male.
I'm
It's a
getting
human male right there I like, but...
like I'm getting a serious like this is medium armor vibe,
It is
Yeah,
medium,
definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
which I mean makes sense since it's a Rox outfit, which makes me hope that Rox is actually going to be a bigger deal in the next chapter of the Living Story. And I'm kind of wondering if she's ever going to be like written in as a druid, like if that's ever going to happen. But maybe that'll happen when, like, I don't know, Bram gets himself nearly killed and she has to heal him when he does something stupid.
When he does.
Yeah, when he does something stupid. So
Yeah, it's a decent, you know, as far as outfits go, it's pretty decent. Gives me that bandit sort of vibe,
mm-hmm.
which is pretty cool.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I like I said, I kind of enjoyed overall. It's I would probably, like I said, use the helmet thing first if it was separate, but we're not in that kind of a world. Maybe in some other fractal version.
Alternate.
Yeah.
another alternate universe, we could use different armor pieces from an outfit.
Yeah. Another thing that came out that's new this week is the Celestial Rooster Glider for 500 gems, and you can see it here in action.
This thing is legitimately funny.
It's
Yeah, I was really
definitely
tempted.
funny and weird. For me, I was like, probably not for me, but I can see people and chat's already saying, you know, definitely bought it, and so. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. If you could make a Gonzo character, I'd be all for it. But
If I didn't already own a ton of other gliders that I hardly ever use, I probably would have bought this, but yeah. It's funny. It's a funny, comical glider. I like it.
Make it an Asuran Mesmer named the Great Gonzo.
yeah, there you go.
I would totally use this on Nestor just for the funniness of it. Or Norton. too. Actually, I want to. How it looks on Nord.
That like a heavy character.
That could be really fun.
Bigger the heavier the character, the funnier it is.
Yeah,
It would be funny if
exactly.
it made it struggle more, because I like how it's like they all have kind of different animations going at the same time, so it's not. They definitely put the time into it. You can just easily tell that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, you can pick that up for 500 gems. Some of the stuff that is returning, we have the Ancestral outfit for 560 gems, which is 20% off. The Phoenix Kite Glider for 360 gems, which is 20% off. The Golden Feather Wings Glider combo, so remember that's a back piece and also the glider, for 700 gems. The Ram Balloon, which is kind of just like a little item that you can kind of carry around a character. It doesn't, it's not a weapon or anything like that. It's not like a weapon skin. 250 gems. The Red Lantern, similar, 250 gems. The Plush Ram Backpack set, so this one's just a backpack skin for 300 gems. So would you, do any of you guys have this or possibly getting it during this time where they're returning, or would you recommend any of them?
I have the Phoenix Kite Glider. I like it. It looks pretty cool. It's clean. I use it on my Guardian. It looks good with the blue, with the way that they have the rice paper set up. It takes blue dyes really well. So.
Yeah, I use it on my Norn.
Ancestral outfit's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have that one as well. I think I have the Ram plushie back piece, even though I've probably used it once.
I don't think I have. I think the only plushie backpack I have is the pink one, and I won that from a contest that Deo set up back during the early days when I joined the Game Breaker Nation guild.
I was gonna say I had a Ram plush backpack. I must have got out of the.
No, not the Ram one. It was the pink Quaggan. I think it was for. It was a runner-up reward for the lore scavenger hunt.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that I probably bought a bunch of them out of the trading post, because I was like, why did I buy one of those?
I feel like the kites. So in Dry Top, there's 3 kites that you can get out of those chests that give 33% movement speed during the sandstorm, and then I think it's like a 5% passive. Otherwise, you really can't notice it. It would be cool if all kites had that like ability or something. Maybe
No,
I'll
then
care
we're
more
gonna
about
have
kites.
there's mounts in the game. Ah!
Well, we might be getting those anyway, so.
Oh,
I reiterate. Ah! But yeah, so I kind of like the ancestral outfit. I think that's the one, if I'm not mistaken, Dolphy uses for her dye sets when we like usually show that picture, because I believe it has.
Yep.
If you're intrigued by it, I know the reason that Dolphy uses that is because it actually has a metal texture on it, a leather texture on it, and a cloth texture. So if you're showing a uniformed dye, it's kind of showing you what it will look like potentially on that. But so if you're ever intrigued by that or looking for a look that has all 3 for some reason, get the ancestral outfit. So any other thoughts on Gemstore stuff? Would you want any of these to be ever turned into a real item?
oh,
Yes, I want a glider of chickens to carry me wherever I go.
Yes. Yes.
That one might be a little more tricky. I
Honestly,
kind of forgot about that one.
If I was actually a person who was into flying kites, the Phoenix Kite Glider would be pretty cool to have.
I think I'm good. Yeah.
I've always wanted a Ram balloon to carry with me everywhere I go around
There you go.
downtown.
Put that on that website, and we'll vote it to the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that is it for this week. So, Jim, where can you be found?
I can be found on Twitter at MalthanusMMO, and you can also find me here on twitch.tv/TalkingSkrit every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our Zero to Hero PvP night.
Awesome. And Age, where can you be found?
Twitch and YouTube at Agent Nerd. I hit 100, over 100 subs on YouTube, which is cool.
Nice.
Almost hit 500 on Twitch today.
Congrats.
'Cause didn't you say
Yeah.
when you hit 500 on Twitch, you're doing a giveaway? So
Giveaway stream. That would be sometime in the next 30 days, because I'd have to organize it, right? Cause
Did you ever do your 24-hour stream?
I gotta do a new one. We'll do another one.
no, because I don't want the game to break. Because every time you do, the whole game gets shut down for some
It was
reason.
One time, Dale. Let it go.
It sounds like a 100% track record. And Inks, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at MMO Inks.
Awesome.
Nice and simple.
Yeah. Uniformed. And you can find me at simply_Dale on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you're just popping at the end here, we do put this up on YouTube Sundays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And just search Talking Skritt, usually the first one that pops up. If you are watching on YouTube, definitely come out live if you can make it. We go live every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And as always, we will see you in the game. Good night, everybody.